Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. Okay, so this scene with Porsha and Terry starts off fine. They're having their meeting about staff and where they need to go and things of that nature. And then Porsha sees a name on, the chart that they're reading. It's Brad. And she kind of flips out. Like, she gets really angry about it. And I'm like, I don't really understand, why are you this mad about it? Like, okay, I get that he has a history, he has a past of doing some very duplicitous things, right? It almost felt like it almost seemed like it was being a little extra, you know? Like, she was really angry about it, and it was like, all Terry did was make the recommendation. She didn't just sit there and hire the person. Like, she didn't hire Brad. It was like the lab supervisor, whatever, that actually hired them. So it was like, why are you being this, like, I felt like she was being so extra as though Brad did something to her personally. That was the energy that she was giving off. And it was just like, bro, you're doing too much. And then you find out towards the end that she was the one that changed the test on Heather Weber's results. So I'm like, wait, I was like, wait, let me get this straight. You done sat there and spazzed out on Terry for Brad and his past of stuff that he was doing. But you just did that shit recently, and you really feel like you have room to criticize? Okay, boom, sure. It's like, wow, okay. Um, and so yeah, afterwards she visits Trina, and they have their lunch and everything, and Portia's not there telling Trina the good news that her levels are the same. Trina made a couple of jokes or whatever, and at first she found it a little kind of hard to believe because she was like, "So what was Heather doing? She was eating metal and stuff like that. Like, what was she doing? Because like it's not really making sense what you're telling me." But apparently she was not there saying, Porsha was there saying like it's in fish, it's in different food products or whatever. Like, she was like, "Hey, listen, the point is," because I'm not gonna lie, it almost felt like she couldn't even sit there and explain those high levels or those levels that she had in her system that caused that poison in the first place. So she was like, "Well, it's science." The point is she ain't getting out, and so Trina told her that she feels a sign of relief. She wasn't really sitting there trying to think about it too much, but now it's like a huge weight off her shoulders. But we all know that secrets have a way of coming out. My little theory is that when it does come out, she is going to point the finger so hard at Brad. And it's going to be a while before people get to the bottom and it is revealed that Porsha did it. Now, here's my thing. I understand why Porsha did it, okay? Because in all reality, you know, regardless of the poisoning, you still did what you did. You still have all those bodies. You should still be sitting there spending the rest of her life in jail. So I'm not mad, or I'm not knocking Porsha for doing that. I'm knocking Porsha for being a goddamn hypocrite. That's what I'm knocking her for. Especially in one episode, when you find out that she did the exact same thing, that she was sitting there chastising and whining and complaining to Terry about. So while that's going on, you got TJ venting to Curtis, Molly venting to Dex. Now, what I found kind of odd was Molly going to a dive bar. Like, and you can tell, like, this isn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't even a place where it would be one thing, it would be kind of cool if it was like, okay, well, sometimes she likes to go to dive bars or whatever. It's like, it's outside her comfort zone, but she's used to it. But when she goes there, she asks for a drink that's like, bro, they don't, do you know where you're at? So, the bartender, gives her something else or whatever, and, it's not what she wanted. She wanted some sort of fancy drink, but I'm what are you doing here? I didn't even really understand why she was there in the first place. Out of all the places she could have went to, she goes there. Now, it wasn't the type of bar like that Josslyn and Trina went to when it was, trying to find evidence on Esme. But this is still somewhat kind of a seedy bar, not the type of bar that you would have a lawyer or have her being, I don't want to say bougie, but being who she is, going there. So it seemed like it was just kind of out of place, and it was like, I don't know, maybe it had something more production or whatever, and he just had to use it, so he just found the way for it to work. But anyway, she goes there, Dex is there, she vents about her problems with TJ, the loss, and everything like that, her relationship. And the same, mostly, is very similar to the stuff that Curtis is, TJ's venting to about Curtis. And long story short, it just comes down to them avoiding each other at work, avoiding each other at home, finding reasons not to necessarily go home right away, and constantly missing each other as the day goes on. Um, calling each other and things of that nature, and finding excuses to stay and just keep busy. Now, sad as it is, it's not uncommon for couples to sit there and break up because of the loss of a child. It's good that they're venting to different people, but if they don't start working together, maybe taking a couple of therapy sessions or whatever, couples therapy about that, then one of the things that Curtis Smith is saying is, you two have a lot of history. You've been through so much or whatever. And I think TJ says something along the lines of, just because we have history, we keep going like this, we're not going to have a future. And he is 100% correct. So it's one thing acknowledging that you have a serious problem. It's another thing doing something about it. Um, Josslyn is still there whining about the same thing. Like, I get it, but it's been like 2 days, and it's like, yeah, she's a lot more mellow about it. But it's the same thing though. Like, she's still there whining about Carly, um, in the whole Sunny drama. And the thing is, this is after she sat there and talked to Michael about, pretty much kind of butting out of it and letting Carly sit there and handle this, and understanding that, they have this bond, and their families are so connected that they kind of need each other in a sense, as far as for the kids and stuff. So she understands all that, but yet we still have another 20 or so minutes of her just whining about the same thing. And I get it, she's concerned, but after a while it's like, my God, couldn't y'all just talk about anything else? Like, I just, I can't. And it's not so much that I don't like Josslyn, but after like about 2 or 3 days, it's like, bro, enough is enough. Can we find a way to just like move past this? Because this is just annoying. Um, and just to stretch out the time even more, we have this pointless scene of Felicia and Robert trying to get answers from Jack Brennan. Eventually, they do. Just somewhat of an update on Jason and Anna's whereabouts, and pretty much the same thing he told those two was the same thing that he told Carly. So in all reality, was it really needed to sit there and see Robert and Felicia? No. And I get it. They're on. I don't know if they're on contract or whatever, but it was just like, why? Like, why? Um, but Brennan does actually come to the diner, talks to Carly. Josslyn finds out about the whole zip tied and kidnapping thing or whatever. And so she wasn't really too pleased about it. But like the way that Carly and Brennan, try to play it off as, oh, it was just a misunderstanding. And so, Jocelyn's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And she kind of just, says bye, whatever. Like, she's not really angry, but she's not like, I don't even know how she was supposed to feel about that. Just the way that she couldn't even have time to process it and just walked off. It was just like, I will deal with that on another day. Um, and of course, Jack made this comment because Carl was like, listen, in the future, we have to sit there and come up with a better story than, misunderstanding. And Jack was just like, how about we just sit there and say it's like a little kinky thing going on. You can clearly see that there's going to be something between those two. So I did find that kind of funny. Um, Gives her a bit update with Jason and Anna as far as just making contact. But other than that, that's pretty much about it. I almost forgot that Willow was in the scene. I mean, Willow was in this episode. All she did was sit there and talk about Drew. Drew saving her life and being a good and amazing and awesome person. And then she goes off, and then we don't see her for another. Well, that's pretty much we don't see her for the rest of the episode. Then there's a scene with Liz and Terry, and Liz tells everyone. Well, Liz tells Terry that Steve is out of jail. Steve Lars. So yeah, that's the thing. I vaguely remember him when I first started watching, but it was like when she said it was like, yeah, he's out and he's not gonna go to Port Charles because of Heather. It was just like it was just like, okay, I mean, unless you're gonna put him in an exciting storyline, it's like, okay, cool, he's out, great. So a good 2 minutes of time that we just killed there. But Terry talks about Heather and her getting out and how she feels about it. And, she's kind of like so about it, since Franco was able to get a second chance, she's kind of like, well, you know. And she even says that about Brad. She says it about Brad, and, Terry was like, well, Porsha seemed like she was kind of, upset about it a little bit. I was like, well, Porsha is a goddamn hypocrite at this point, so she got zero room to sit there and kind of be pointing fingers at this point. Um, Not to mention the implicit stuff that she did, which isn't on Brad's level. But my point is, she's not perfect. Let's not sit there and start trying to, you know, throw a hate or shade or whatever. That's actually about it. This episode wasn't super great. It wasn't terrible, but it was like, besides the major highlight of them pretty much confirming that Porsha changed those test results, it's not like we didn't know, but it was nice to sit there and have a flashback. Other than that, and for anyone that actually is fans of Stephen Lahr, um, yeah. But also, I feel like I probably forgot something else since you decided to throw in Robert and Felicia for reasons unknown. I might have forgot something else. If I did, write it in the comment section below. I'll come to the live stream tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll talk about all the shows: General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, Born and Beautiful, and Young and Restless. Okay. Also, I gotta give just a little bit of an announcement. I'm going to be going back to doing 2 reviews. Tried doing a little 4. There's 2 things that's probably stopping me from doing all 4. One if I don't have the time to do it properly, then I don't want to sit there and rush it. And two, something with the fact that when you upload more videos, it actually gives out less notifications. So it's like the videos I would normally get higher numbers on are not getting that. And it's because it's like it's like I'm putting out too much stuff. Um, which I wouldn't even mind so much about the second one, but there's just times I don't actually have time to do all four, and I don't like rushing things. So, but what I'm thinking about doing is for members to have them vote on the second video that I reviewed throughout the week. And it'll change, every week. I'll put out a new poll for members or whatever, and they can sit there and decide on what other show that I'm going to sit there and review besides General Hospital. So anyway, with that being said, I'm going to go. I'll see you in the next video, and hopefully live stream.